What is going on, YouTube? It's Primitive here, and today I am very excited to be bringing you our first BT10 store championship coverage. Now, today we are going to be having two of the most anticipated decks of BT10 with Blue Flare on the right, and then on the left we are going to be having Crossheart, which is going to be piloted by my Team Icewall teammate Brandon, who is using our Team Icewall playmat, which was made by today's sponsor, Draw2 Gaming. Draw2 Gaming is a shop near and dear to me, being a shop I work with frequently, and I have a bunch of their playmats I rotate between. Draw2 Gaming has a ton of playmat options to choose from, with the option to get the standard playmat or two different stitch options, which can make it a lot more sturdy and help increase the lifespan of the playmat. They are also open for commissions, so if you're anything like me and have little to no drawing capabilities but an amazing playmat idea in your head you want to get done, then I have the perfect place for you. Check out the link in the description to see all the amazing playmat options, and make sure to use promo code PrimitiveDigi for 10% off your order. Now, let's get on in today's video. Alright, so getting on in today's match, we are going to be having Blue Flare going first. Now, this is a matchup that is pretty interesting because Crossheart is a deck that can be so fast and so aggressive that it can just blow out Blue Flare pretty quickly if they do get the right stack. But Blue Flare is a deck filled with stun, being able to have things like Metal Greymon, Decker, and that male Birdramon, being able to stun all the Digimon on the board. If you go for blockers with things like Cross 5, you will be able to get stunned as well. So we saw the male Birdmon come out turn 1 to play out the Curia. That's going to give you 3 memory to be able to go for that Digicross up into the Metal Greymon using the security attack plus 1 Greymon as the source. So that is going to give you 2 checks. You don't have a second Digimon on your opponent's side of the board, meaning that you wouldn't have got the unsuspend with the new BT10 Blue Greymon, so this does give you a second check. Now, Darulamon will be stunned, gonna play out the Snow Agumon. It is a tech that has been seeing a little bit of play in the Blue Flare. I don't know how impactful it is, but it is a nice little tech, but not anything gonna be able to strip there. And now, since we are filling up with Tamers on the Crossheart end, we already have Taiki, Zenjiro, and Akiri on the field, so we're gonna be able to go for the Cross 4, be able to get all that draw, and then now we're gonna be able to swing in, and we are going to hit into Blue Hawaii Death. So the security trigger is just going to add to hand, but what that card does is for 2, you get plus 3k DP on one of your Digimon, and then they can attack over your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution sources. So that can be pretty interesting because of how much source strip you can have with this deck because of things like the Sorajo or even the Snow Agumon we see. But versus the Crossheart, it can be a problem, especially because they are popping off pretty hard right here, swinging in and hitting the Decker Greymon as the check. So you do have the minus 2k to your opponent's security Digimon because of the Darulamon, but still will be 8k to 8k. So going to go down, not going to be able to get the end of attack to unsuspend, but still get to material save 2 and putting it under the Taiki. Now, obviously, in a lot of matchups, you want to be saving under different Tamers because Taiki is the biggest pop, but there are no Tamer deletion in this deck, so it's mostly just keeping it under 1 Tamer because it helps save time. When you have to keep pulling cards under each Tamer, it is a little bit better just to go under 1 when you know your opponent's not going to be running any removal. But now in a pretty weird situation, just because not 100% sure what is in their hand, but even if they on-play something right here, it will potentially just get stunned, depending on if the Decker Greymon does come out. But they are just going to go with the Zenjiro, going to play out the Ballistamon there. Still going to go to 3 because of the Curia, so the tap is not going to matter there. But now you do have a blocker. We are going to swing in and just block before any stuns can happen, and I think that makes a lot of sense, especially because you are going to be blocking 2 checks. The fact that they went for the swing first shows that they aren't going to be going for something like another Metal Greymon, because if they're able to go for another Metal Greymon right there, stun, be able to swing the 2 checks, and then just swing in right there, they would have been able to go for game. Keeping the Snow Agumon up, which is interesting because you have the theory of being able to swing the 2 checks with the Metal Greymon, and then when your opponent has no security, you swing in with the Snow Agumon, but when it's just chilling on the board, it could just go down to something like Darulamon. You're also weak to things like Fireball, or even if you just swing into something like Sunrise Buster, that will take you down as well. So you could have swung in with the Snow Agumon right there, put them down to 1 security, and then going into your next turn, potentially swing in with the Gaussmon, put them to 0, swing in with the Metal Greymon. But now we are going to go with the Cross 5. It is going to have Rush because of the Shoutmon, and then Ballistamon giving it Pierce. So going to Pierce through the Metal Greymon, clear off that last check. You do have a Reboot, so you are going to be able to have Reboot blocker going into your next turn, which is going to help you stay alive. But because of the way stunning works with the Decker Greymon, if they do get something like maybe a couple Hammer Sparks, they could go Metal Greymon up into Decker and still be able to stun that cross 5, be able to potentially get the 3 checks in depending on how the stack goes, because if you go Metal Greymon with the Curia, put the red Metal Greymon underneath, and then Digivolve up into the Decker, put the Decker Greymon underneath and stun, then that will give you the 2 checks, but Ballistamon is going to potentially stop that. Actually, no, if you just hard play the Metal Greymon, it's still going to help you there. And I forgot about the Sorajo, so they are going to go to 4, but now going to 6, so if they had the Metal Greymon right there, that could have been pretty bad. The Ballistamon with blocker will help, but now they hit the Metal Greymon, so they can play it out and stun, but actually going to swing with the Snow Agumon first. That is going to strip the bottom 2 sources of the cross 5, which will help as far as resources go, but still going to be able to get value off that Ballistamon by blocking right there. Can go into the Metal Greymon right here. I'm interested in why we didn't go for that first, considering that we could have just played it blocked and then still gone for the same thing, but gonna go ahead and swing in there, get the checks in, but they didn't block with the cross 5, interestingly enough, but now they are just gonna be able to play out another Ballistamon off that Zenjiro, be able to swing in with the Gaussmon, but they now have 2 blockers, and they are gonna scoop it up because they can't win that turn, and now going back into the Cross Hearts turn, they are definitely winning. So here comes out a Memory Tamer turn 1, just put them to 4, and then Zenjiro gonna play out a Ballista, gain the memory, so only for 2, but nothing in hand, so gonna just have to pass turn. And Blue Flare just playing the Decadramon, a card that is kind of slow in the early game, but we can see that the Crossheart player didn't have the most impactful early hand, so gonna be able to take advantage of that by getting that Decadramon out, being able to get a couple draws, and then when it does get deleted and you save it, you'll have it under your Tamer, so it'll be used for Decker Greymon later, and then that will be able to help stun things like the Cross 5, so gonna be able to survive that check right there too. Having the Madoki out, I think, is pretty inconsequential. You aren't going to be gaining memory, so probably something you would want to consider just swinging in unless you are considering Digivolving up. But we are going to go ahead and just Digivolve up into the Decker Greymon right now for 4. Be able to put the Male Birdmon underneath and stun the Sparrowmon. And you do have Armor Purge with this, which is nice because you do have ways to be able to get over this potentially. But being able to have the Armor Purge would guarantee something on the board. And another pass from Crossheart. So this is looking very rough, even into a Sunrise Buster that doesn't play a yellow or red Tamer with none on the board, so cannot delete anything because we only have a green Tamer, so this game is not going too great for Crossheart so far. They are starting to fall way too far behind, although the fact that they only have 1 Digimon on board does help a bit, does slow down a potential Metal Greymon coming out of hand, because that could potentially end the game, and it also stops the Male Birdmon from getting to be able to stun, but you're still not looking really great. We have the Madoki. I still think you want to swing this in. You're not blocking anything here. The only way that they gain memory is through the Zenjiro, and you can't deny that anyway. So just get that check in, put them down to 1. They've passed multiple turns in a row, so there's really not much that they can do here. They have 2 Digimon with the Pikmons underneath, which is going to be able to draw them cards. So going to swing with the Starmons, going to swing with the Sparrow, get 2 card draws. Both going down, so going to be able to save under Zenjiro, but no Taiki or Curia on board, so not going to be able to play those sources for a Digicross. So as of right now, you could play something out like a Ballista, which would give you a blocker on board, but your opponent still has 3 swings to 1 security, so we're just going to play Taikari and hope for your opponent to swing with Decker first and hit Innocence Blizzard, maybe? I really don't know. I don't think there's really too much you could do there anyway. That was such a painful start for the Crossheart player. They really didn't do anything there. They basically just played a couple rookies in Raising and a Zenjiro, and that was about it. So going into Game 3, we are going to have to see them get a little bit of a better hand to be able to stand a chance, because they really were not doing anything there. So gonna go starting off with the Blazing Memory Boost. So that is going to be able to grab them the Gauss and the Greymon and play out the Curia for free. So very, very strong start. You are putting your opponent to 5 memory first turn, which is unfortunate, but the value you got out of that was insane. You got 2 cards to hand, a memory boost on board, and a memory tamer, so now they have to put you at 3 no matter what. They played only 6 memory value worth for that 5 memory that you gave them, and then you go to 3 anyway, so worked out pretty well. Could have been something that could have potentially got punished with maybe if they had Zenjiro into Ballista and be able to have a little bit better memory curve, but regardless here, gonna go with the Innocent Blizzard just to stun the Darulamon. Don't want to get early checks going and also be able to get that Sorojo memory next turn. And that is actually pretty powerful because you can't do too much about this Darulamon being on the board unless you go for a Digicross and use it as a source to get some sources going. But already have the Sorojo giving them memory, so just going to commit the Shoutmon. Doesn't change anything with the Sorojo. Going to be able to search out. Now jamming Vmon going in, going to be able to get that Upamon draw and survive the check into the cross 4, so very nice. Metal Greymon coming out is also going to be able to stun both the Digimon on the board, swing in, get that unsuspend, but going to go down in security, so just go with the material save. And then Decker coming out, going to be able to draw 3, still stunned, and this is pretty strong because, again, unless you Digicross, this is going to give you Sorojo memory. So they are going to use it right here. I'd imagine the Darulamon is going as well. Yep, so going to play that for 1. You do have piercing, so most likely going to pierce through this Vmon, so that way you don't get that body on the board, don't get the Upamon draws. Swing in just 1 check because we don't have tie on the field, and then end of attack. Thinking about if they're going to end of attack, I don't see why you wouldn't because of the Sorojo on board. You don't really want your sources stripped. I could see maybe wanting to keep it on board so that you have a Digimon with sources that can actually have aggression going, since a lot of your rookies and champions will just get stunned if they stay on the board. But really, it's just too much of a cost because of that Sorojo. This deck focuses so much around being able to have those material save sources underneath your Tamers. And I see a Curia in hand that they could use to play out to start getting those sources underneath their Tamers on for their cross 4 and cross 5, but they actually do have the Taiki, so they can just use that as well. This is going to allow you to search. The Curia is a memory tamer, so there is a thought about using that one, but just going to go with the search from the Taiki instead. So now going to be having those cross Digimon live. Now, you are looking a little bit scared though because both players are at 3 security, which means that both players could pop off very quickly and be able to go for game, especially if the Blue Flare player has hybrids. I don't believe we've seen one revealed yet, but if there is one, that could put a lot of aggression out there. But on the other end, Crossheart is also threatening its own potential lethal. You swing in Starmons. If your opponent gives you at least 2 memory, that means you could swing Starmons, put them down to 2 security, play cross 4 for 1, swing a check. If it survives, you end of attack to unsuspend your Taiki, then play another cross 4, go down to 0, swing into the last check, and then assuming that it survives, you can get all the sources and go into a cross 5 for game. But here we are. That is likely not going to happen because the Crossheart is going to be put at 1 with the Digivolve for 4 into the Decker Greymon. Gets to put a source underneath with that Greymon, so it help unsuspend, get some more aggression if your opponent plays out another Digimon. But swinging at that Starmons, it hit blue memory boost, and that is pretty bad. You have a Decker Greymon you already have to kind of deal with. There's a Gaussmon in the back, and your opponent's going to be going to at least 5 with the blue memory boost, and even more if you play another Digimon with no sources to give them Sorojo memory. And because of the 2 swings on board right now, if you don't clear the Decker, that means that your opponent is just a Metal Greymon away and Digicross from winning. So we are going to go for the cross 4 here, getting some draws off of the on play as well as the Ikaris. Starmon's draw, swing, get the 1 check, only hitting another memory boost though, so this puts them in an even worse position to where you kind of have to go for game here. End of turn, gonna be able to go for that unsuspend on the Taiki. Now gonna have the Sparrowmon, so that means we can play the cross 5 for free. Gonna swing into the Decker, minus 2k to security because of the Darulamon, so we are gonna be able to survive 10k to 8k, and you are gonna have reboot with blocker, which is very nice because, like I said, right now you are looking a little rough, but the thing is the Starmon's living is actually going to be a very, very big deal because now you have 2 Digimon, meaning that if another Decker comes out, you can stun the cross 5, but mostly Metal Greymon coming out, being able to have 2 Digimon means that you are going to be able to swing unsuspend, and if with the Decker stayed alive, you'd be able to swing, block 1, swing with the Gauss, put them down to 1, and then 2 swings with Metal Greymon would go for game. But with the Decker gone, it is not totally guaranteed, but because we are popping 2 memory boosts going up to 9, it is still very possible that this could be game. Not blocking with the cross 5 right there, which I think is a potential mistake, because if you go for Metal Greymon, you Digicross and then you Digivolve up into the Decker, you would be able to stun up the cross 5, and then that would mean no blocker. You'd be able to swing, unsuspend, swing, and so I think you maybe wanted to get that block there to potentially not get stunned, but now we're going to go for the Metal Greymon, swing, and actually don't even need the Decker, you need the Mailbird. Forgot about that, and that is actually just going to take it. Swing, unsuspend, stun the cross 5. No check in there to take down the Metal Greymon, which means that we are swinging it again. Going for game, so Blue Flare going to be able to take this match versus Crossheart. Now, Game 2 was a little bit of a bust for the Crossheart because they didn't really get anything going for them, but still a very strong match. This is a matchup that can go either deck's way. It's just really who gets going, who gets their pieces, and this time it was Blue Flare. But if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be bringing you even more BT10 content, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I will catch you next time. Peace out.